Hello everyone, welcome to round number 5 of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. We have cut our intro a little bit short because we're running a little bit behind schedule. As you can see, it says on the box just below my face, George Cook. That's not correct this week. I'm standing in for George on account of him going away for a little bit of a family emergency. So he's not here this week and I will be stepping in for him, which may come as a disappointment for some of you, but hopefully I can fill the shoes of our very, very prestigious commentator. I am joined once again by Nathan Howe, based out of Auckland. Nathan, say hello, mate. How are you?
Hey, good, mate. This is the penultimate round of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. It's flown by, hasn't it? We're already at the pre-final, so yeah, no, it's awesome. Really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we're at the business end of the competition now, round number 5. One more round to go after this one, and we're starting to see the drivers at the top end shape up and sort of let us know who's likely to qualify for the live finals. I'm just behind on this one. I just wanted to have a quick look at the driver standings as they sit. I don't have a graphic for the stream, unfortunately, so you guys at home won't be able to see this, but if you are in the Discord, then you'll be able to see it in there, but I will walk you through a couple of the positions as they sit for Div 1 and 2. So, important changes this week. We are missing Monkey Matt for 2 weeks in a row now, so he wasn't present at Blue Moon Bay Infield A either last week, and that's one of his favourite circuits too, so he was really disappointed by that one, wasn't he, Nath?
Yeah, he absolutely was. And then on the flip end, you've got the return of Caleb, who of course also missed the Blue Moon Bay race for various some reason, but he's back now, and that's awesome to see him back on. Yeah, everyone else, it's pretty much business as usual. We've got all your regulars, all your favourites, and pretty iconic racetrack to go with it all, don't we, Tom?
Yeah, so we are going to Suzuka tonight. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I will go over the points just quickly before we get into that. So our top two remain the same as they were. So Simon and Matthew in first place, our reigning champion from last year. Caleb has dropped from 3rd to 4th in the standings after being absent last week. He's been replaced by Lewis in the 3rd position by 1 point, so not much in it at all. Down towards P10, which is the final spot for our live final, so the top 10 qualify. The 10th position is occupied by Campbell Knowles, based out of Bay of Plenty. He's known as Airborne in online space, so he currently has 74 points. The driver behind him has 73, and that's Ben Groves. Now, Ben Groves started the series, he qualified in Division 1, but missed the first round, which caused him to be in Division 2 for the second round, having scored 0 points, and because of our inter-division system that we have this year, he was forced to start in round 2 in Division 2, which put him on the back foot a little bit. So he won 3 races on the trot in Division 2 and secured himself promotion to Division 1, where he debuted last week at Blue Moon Bay Infield A, where he finished, I believe, P6. So he's making a bit of a comeback, and he's going to be challenging for that spot. So Airborne's going to have the work cut out for him from here to the end of the series. Other drivers in contention for that top 10 spot, Scott Greenlees, who's currently P9, he's on 76 points, so only 2 points ahead of Airborne, so he's a little bit at risk as well. And Andre or Stone Harbour, based out of Canterbury, he's on 72, so 1 point behind Ben Groves. So there's a couple of drivers, and Olaf Flesh as well, Clan Fever, based out of Manawatu, he's also 1 point behind Stone Harbour as well. So from 10th down to 14th, there's 1 point separating each individual driver. So all 4 of those guys are still in contention for the live finals, and so are many others as well. A little bit further down, there is a mathematical chance that a lot of them can still get in because there are 3-point scoring races to go, but it might be a little bit harder for them. So that's kind of how we shape down at the moment for our drivers in the standings. Because Monkey Matt is missing tonight, we are going to see Freelix be promoted from Division 2. He's currently the top point scorer in that division, and he'll be driving in Division 1 with the Division 1 drivers for the second week in a row. After a little bit of bad luck last week, he'll be hoping to improve that this week. So we're going to move into our prizes that we have available for the competitors who finished 2nd and 3rd in the championship, before going over a little bit what our first prize in the championship is for this year. It's something special. I know you guys will mostly all know about it already, but we'll go over it again very quickly. So here is what our 2nd place winner will receive after the live finals from Next Level Racing. How good. Love a little teaser of the Next Level Racing GT Light cockpit. A fantastic prize that Next Level Racing have provided for us for our second place finisher in the live finals. Let's look now at what third place we'll receive also from Next Level Racing. The HF8 haptic feedback pad from Next Level Racing for our third place finisher this year. And that brings me to our grand prize for 2024, a fantastic prize put up by Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand, a factory supported testing session in a Toyota 86 trophy car this year. It'll be next year, but that'll be what the champion wins this year. What do you think of that, Nath?
Mate, it doesn't get much better than doing it for real, isn't it? As good as sim racing gets, and as far as the technology's come, nothing will ever beat getting your bum in the seat of a real car. So that's a pretty top-notch prize there. Massive thanks to Toyota Gazoo for putting that one on, eh?
Yeah, I'm super stoked with that prize, and I'm so happy for whoever it goes to. Seeing sim racing talent be put behind the wheel of a real race car is something that I'm really passionate about, and it seems that Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand is passionate about that as well, seeing the talent be given the opportunity that it deserves. So really excited to see that happen after our live finals. But first, our competitors have to get to the live finals. So let's go over what is coming up for you guys tonight in terms of the race, as well as some of the drivers that you may see on track tonight. So we're going to Suzuka Speedway this evening in Japan, and let's have a look at one of our drivers for tonight, shall we? Matthew Budd, or ZX Scar on PSN. So he's made very minimal appearances this season, but he did qualify in Division 1, which certainly grants him an opportunity to be on our driver profile for this year. So he finished 5th last year in the 2023 New Zealand Esports Racing Series after qualifying very well in the online season to get to Wellington. He achieved 5 podiums in an Australian NASCAR E-Series. I'm not sure if that was actually on GT7, it might have been a different one, which makes him naturally a man of many talents. And he currently drives for SRM Australia, so that's the esports team that he represents. And a pretty common face amongst the GT7 community, wouldn't you say, Nath?
Yeah, he's certainly been around. There's obviously a fair few leagues and series in the Oceania scene, and Scars, he doesn't do all of them, but he certainly crops up here and there more often than most. And like you say, if he's done a NASCAR E-Series, then his sim racing talents venture just beyond Gran Turismo. Yeah, he's one of the finalists last year. We obviously met in Wellington, and he's just an absolute character. What a mad lad.
Yeah, it was great to meet him and great to hang out with the guys and him after the event last year. He's not in Division 1 with us tonight on account of a few absences this season, but we hope to see him back for next round if possible. He may be competing in Division 2 tonight, I'm not sure, I haven't checked the the report of who's present tonight, but he is floating around the place and a very talented driver to have in the series. Our second driver of the evening, Ben Groves. Now, this is an interesting one because he is the one we were talking about a little bit earlier who's throwing his hat in the ring for a chance at the live finals in Wellington after a fairly average start to the season on account of an absence in the first round, which was actually an absence in favour of a real-life motorsport event, which he attended and I believe competed in. So already a driver with a foothold in the real world of motorsport now.
Yeah, I mean it's starting to crop up more and more often, isn't it? I mean, sim racing and obviously a lot of the people that do real racing still enjoy sim racing. I mean, there he is there with Liam Lawson, no less. Of course, he's a pretty hot name in the world of motorsports at the moment, isn't he? He's also visited the Hampton Downs NZ Racing Academy, which that is a very well put together operation. I mean, the team at Hampton Downs are absolute top notch as far as their junior talent fostering in the way they sort of go about. Like you say, it's a Toyota Gazoo passionate about the future of motorsport, and Hampton is no exception. So yeah, he's definitely doing everything he can to sort of immerse himself in the world of professional motorsports.
Yeah, great to see him amongst the drivers here, and as you can see in the photo, of course, a photo with the very special Liam Lawson, who has naturally just recently secured his Formula One seat for the remainder of the year, which is very, very exciting for New Zealand motorsports, and will hopefully motivate a lot more young drivers to compete in esports and real-life motorsports wherever they can. Ben Groves, just 15 years old, and yeah, already with a pretty good repertoire of motorsport accolades to his name. So definitely one we're excited to see on track. He made his debut last week at Blue Moon Bay Infield A and showed that he had some pretty good pace. So hopefully we'll see more of that from him tonight. Our third driver of the evening, Logan Nelly, another driver who has spent very little time on track this season but did qualify in Division 1 in the early stages. He was the first place driver in Division 2 last year, so made the jump up to Division 1 to start this season, which he would have been happy about. He created the team Vertex Racing, which you can see there in his PSN ID VTX, small racing community group on Gran Turismo 7, based predominantly on Deep GT anyway, and started on Gran Turismo 4 at age 6, so a long time Gran Turismo fan, Nate.
Yeah, and Gran Turismo is just one of those franchises. It's got the history that, again, there's plenty of people that have played it for a fair few titles now. It's not quite like some of the more recent offerings in the sim racing world, but yeah, Blind Man, I mean, he did super well in Div 2 last year, so it's a bit of a shame that he's missed a few races here and there, but yeah, there's no doubting he's fast.
Yeah, a well-known figure in the GT7 community of Oceania. So we'll move into our car information now for the evening and for the season so far. The Toyota 86 Group 4 car, a GT4 replica car based on the GT4 category of real-life racing, so 358 horsepower and 1200 kg to work with. So sort of a slightly modified production car, just with a little bit of aero and naturally racing tyres, racing suspension, and the old roll cage and all that sort of thing. So pretty grassroots as far as race cars are concerned. Very, very similar, in fact, to the GT86 Cup car that is used by Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand in their 86 series, which is actually being phased out now for the GR86, the newer version of the 86 car that got released a couple of years ago, which is very exciting to see. But a car very, very similar to this will be the car that is tested by the winner of our championship this year. So being glad to see the work on display in this car so far this season. A lot of sideways moments. It's front engine, rear wheel drive layout, contributing to that a little bit, making the guys have to work for it as the season goes by. The track for tonight is Suzuka Circuit, as you may have seen in the background. So here's the track map for you now. Quite a long track, over 2 minutes for a lap, even for, I believe, a GT3 car, so the GT4 car is going to be a little bit slower. Turn 1, very, very, very important corner. A lot of people, anyone who's been on a sim probably knows what the feeling of going off at turn 1 feels like at this track, because you have to brake very late, you carry a lot of speed into it, and you go to the outside, that AstroTurf pulls you right off the track, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. Turn 11, at the top of the circuit there, you can see the hairpin is probably one of the best opportunities to overtake. If you actually watch the Formula One series, you'll see the drivers actually taking a wider line through that corner, which is enough of a suggestion that the inside and the outside line are both overtaking possibilities for that corner. I've seen people do it on the outside, seen people do it on the inside, seen people go from the outside to the inside through that corner. Very, very good corner for making overtakes, and comes off turn 10, a very, very quick right-hander, which sets you up for that braking zone, so you've got to be very careful on your way in there. Turn 15, the high-speed left-hander 130R, a very, very famous corner, made famous by many a Formula One driver for their daring overtakes, and I've actually witnessed live an accident at that corner in the Super Formula Series last year when I was watching Liam Lawson make his bid for the championship. One of the drivers went off in qualifying and put it in the fence, putting an end to the entire day of racing because the fence couldn't be repaired. So super dangerous corner, super high speed corner. Don't expect any overtakes through there, but turn 16 perhaps is where you might see some overtakes made. Your thoughts, Nath, on our Suzuka circuit for tonight?
Yeah, this is definitely a heck of a venue to go racing, even in the best of times. plenty of, like you say, plenty of corners where you just don't want to mess up, and on the flip side, plenty of overtaking spots. So yeah, it's I think we're going to see quite a bit of action. I mean, we already have all season, so why is this going to be any different? But certainly, like you say, it's going to be risk versus reward for a lot of this race. And one of the other things about this race too, all three tyre types. So we're going to see a bit more of that tyre strategy too that we had that at Brands Hatch, and this is pretty much the same sort of setup, just a different venue.
Yeah, running through the 3 different tyre compounds, racing soft, racing medium, and racing hard, does throw a bit of a spanner into the works for these guys. So 5 laps expected tyre life on the racing soft with 4 times tyre wear, and mediums with an 8-lap tyre life, and hards with a 12-lap tyre life. I believe it's 26 laps around here tonight, am I right, Nath?
19.
19 laps tonight. So you could get to the end on the hards and the mediums alone, but you are required to use the softs, aren't you, Nath?
I believe that's true, yeah. So again, it's basically anything goes. You do have to put the hards and the mediums on, though. So straight away, you're committed to a single stop. But yeah, I mean, we saw the speed difference, hards versus softs, in those really extreme cases. That's the sort of strategy, that's the sort of thing that these guys are going to have to sort out for themselves. 4 times tyre wear, so for every lap they do around the course, it's going to feel like 4 laps on the tyres. So do the math. That's 4 times 19. That's the tyres are going to feel a bit secondhand after a wee while, especially if you go for the softs to start with. So obviously for qualifying, they're just going to bolt on softs and happy days. But yeah, this is one of those races where strategy's really going to play a factor.
Yeah, so I am reading in the chat that softs are not required, so we could be looking at a 1-stop, we could be looking at a 2-stop for this race. It depends how much the drivers value all-out pace on that racing soft tyre for the 5 laps or so that you get out of them. But naturally, our prediction of how long the tyres can last is a bit loose, and our drivers, being as talented as they are, can sometimes stretch that tyre life further than we expected. I think we've seen a couple of times this season, and I should really know if the softs are mandated or not, given that I was the one who created this combo, but we'll move forward from there. So that is all our information for the race tonight. What do you say we take these guys to qualifying, Nath?
Yeah, let's do that, mate. I mean, you've set up so many races over the season, so it's all right. You're allowed to get a couple of things tripped up, so that's fine. That's fine. We'll give these guys the starting soon. Let them know that they are just about to get underway. Make sure they got their soft tyres bolted on, and we'll hit that button then, shall we? Let's get underway.
I reckon let's go, mate. We've kept them waiting long enough. 22 minutes past 8 now. We're supposed to rip into this qualifying session at 8 o'clock. So many thanks to our viewers and our drivers for their patience as we get things underway this evening. But we are ready to go now for qualifying for the 5th round of the season. Here we go to the track now. Our drivers coming out for the first time, and I see Felix there actually on the hard tyre, interestingly enough. So perhaps an error, perhaps a bold alternative strategy.
I think he's realised his mistake. He's returned to the pits, and he sort of realised that at the same point you did. Airborne's on the mediums though, so he's been doing this all season. I don't think he quite realises that actually you can change tyres after the fact. He's been out of the game for a while, and last time he played, you had to start your quali session on the tyres that you were anticipating to start the race. So yeah, that's going to cost him a bit of time, because of course it is a 2-minute 10, 2-minute 20 lap in the 86. So he's going to go all the way out, pit, bolt the softs on, and come back out. He's going to lose a fair chunk of time. Someone might want to tell him, not me, but someone.
Bit of a wasted lap on that one, but I guess if it works for him, right? So
hey, look, everyone's got their secret methods, and what's your secret for being so good? Well, I go out and sight the course first, I guess. Maybe it's a sighting lap, I don't know. Interesting to note too, 4.5 meters a second on the wind, and it's a tailwind on the approach to 130R, so that's going to be fun. nothing like a bit of a boost on the way to one of the most feared and revered corners in motorsports history.
Yeah, and a reduction in downforce to boot for that one as well, so that'll cause some problems for some drivers, no doubt. They'll have to feel that out on the qualifying lap, although we're seeing here from drivers like McEwen just taking a bit of speed off as they head around, as they try to set up for their qualifying lap with a little bit of space around them. And naturally, a driver like McEwen is going to back himself to set the fastest lap with no help of slipstream. He'll want all the space that he can get, because the last thing you want around a track like this is to get caught stuck behind a driver who can't quite match your pace.
Absolutely, nothing more frustrating. And I mean, again, Suzuka is a big circuit, so there's plenty of room for everybody to sort of find their own little plot of land to make that attempt, but it doesn't really seem to be. The flip side is that obviously you want to get as many laps as you can in with the time. It's very short qualifying sessions, only 10 minutes, so you've only really got a handful of attempts to punch out that one magic lap, don't you, Tom? You'd know about putting laps in under pressure.
When I put laps in under pressure, nobody watches, because they're usually at the bottom of the pile. But I'm just seeing our out laps coming in at about 2 minutes 13, which says to me that our drivers are probably going to get 3 flying laps in this qualifying session, given that it's 10 minutes long. We're just approaching 3 minutes now, so we're probably going to see 3 flying laps if they do them all back to back as well. So you might get, I feel like there's 2 strategies at play here for the qualifying session. We're looking at either 3 laps back to back, or you do 1 flying lap and then box for fresh tyres, you do another out lap. Actually, I don't even know if you could do that, because you've got to do an in lap, don't you? So you'd probably be cutting it fine for that, so we might be looking at 3 laps on the trot here for our drivers, I think.
Yeah, look, we'll see. And the other thing too is that it's not, once the timer ticks down to 0, that's not necessarily the end of it. So long as they start their final lap after that timer, then they do have a bit of breathing room in that regard. It'd be a bit harsh if the timer finished up and then they just cancelled it there and called it that was it. We're not quite that mean. We do give them time to, like I say, long as they are across that timing line when the timer hits 0, then they're safe. So about sort of 3, maybe 4 laps, we'll see. Interesting to note too, the field has obviously spread out a fair bit, so I don't think there's going to be too many tangles to worry about. And of course, that's not what you want in the qualifying session. Maybe in the race they can sort of argue a bit, but certainly not for the qualifying session.
No, you would hope not. So it's going to be Big Head Ted that breaks the beam first, coming out of the Casio triangle there, first driver across the line. And what is the standard going to be set at for pole position? 209.660. What can Lewis answer with? 0.205 shy, sets a 209.8, and McEwen, to the surprise of nobody, goes to provisional pole position. Actually, he's been unseated early as well. Caleb, on return to the New Zealand Esports Racing Series, has struck first in qualifying up to provisional pole position with a time. Oh, I've got no keyboard here. Whoops. Caleb with a time of 208.298, so barely 100th ahead of McEwen, but it's enough. And around a track like this, you're going
to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of that with Suzuka being such a big circuit. I mean, George and I talked about it last week at Blue Moon Bay. It was such a quick lap that people could really punch out the laps. You don't get that here at Suzuka. So, these lap times that you're seeing, it's almost a shootout, because they only get 1, possibly 2 attempts at it, and then they're either run out of time or they've run out of tyres, because obviously with only 10 minutes they are absolutely attacking the course, and that's really ripping into their tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see who can gain what sort of times now. But I mean, Caleb and Matt, they are just in a league of their own. They're both 8 tenths clear of Scotty Ray, who in turn is 2 tenths clear. So the gaps really open up the further down you go the field. But I mean,
Scotty up to 3rd place as well. That's actually quite a big jump for him. So I mean, I'm starting to think that perhaps a couple of guys have fluffed their laps first time around, but Scotty Ray to be 3rd provisionally is a huge win for him so far, because he started out the season in Division 2 and got his promotion early doors, and he's actually kind of cemented his place in Division 1 as we've gone along, and he's looking really good now, up in 3rd place, and he's on for a qualifying position, I think, for the live finals.
Yeah, don't forget too, there are, like you say, you're absolutely right. There are a few guys who have fluffed their lap. Sly Ben, for example, he's got a penalty, so he'll want to go again. Simon has fluffed his lap somewhere, so he's still yet to set a time, let alone a representative time. And Airborne, of course, doing that early in-lap strategy. So there's about probably 3 or 4 cars, probably 5 that haven't set what you'd call a reflective time. But again, with such a quick-fire quali session, they can't leave it too late. They've still got to get on with the job.
Looks like the strategy is going to be a sort of a 2 stint in qualifying to see these guys chuck on some fresh softs for a second stint, if you will. Simon actually following suit on that one too. So these guys heading through the pits, putting a fresh set on. They do have time, it seems, for 1 flying lap following that. So 2 hot laps for our drivers in this qualifying session. 2 chances to break the beam, set the time that they need to get themselves up the top. Now, Airborne, by the look of things, is going to be the first driver to set a time here. No, he's on an outlap, sorry. Everyone else will be on an outlap, so he's going to be the only driver on a flying lap in the next short while.
Next little rotation, yeah. And again, it's the outlaps are always a bit of a funky one, aren't they? Because you want to get to the line fast. You want to start your time as soon as possible, but you also don't want to burn up your tyres, because that's an absolutely nothing time as it goes. So did he not set a time there?
No, so that was just an outlap for Airborne. So Airborne, Simon and Ben, I think, all without a time on the board. But now it's kind of, they have to set a banker for their final lap, because they need to get a time on the board if they want to be anything other than last. So Airborne as well, good that we have an eye on him right now, because he is the driver that is in 10th position, the last qualifying spot for the live finals, and his nearest competitor on the standings by 1 point difference is Sly Ben the Cat. You can see in P12 there, so he does need to get the jump on him in some way. It looks like he's pushing the car pretty hard on this flying lap, which you do need to do, but I would say there's got to be an element of holding back on this lap for him, just to make sure that he sets a legal lap time, because you go off track in the wrong place, you cop yourself a track cut penalty. Especially dangerous if you cop that anywhere that you won't serve it before the end of the lap, which means the Casio triangle. If you get yourself a half-second penalty there, your lap is invalidated, because you will cross the line carrying that penalty, and it will invalidate your lap.
Yeah, absolutely a horrible way to go for that way. Watching Lewis at the moment, he's behind McEwen. He's probably going to want to follow along for a bit of slipstream. He's sitting in 7th. He's 1.5 seconds off, so I reckon if he can just keep within range of McEwen for this lap, then that should translate into some net positive. Like you say too, Sly Ben the Cat and Airborne, both almost rivals, because like you say, there is such a difference between qualifying for the finals and not. But neither of them have set a time yet, so it's going to be interesting to see who does what. We are waiting on Airborne, just gets it messed up, just going into the Casio triangle, so there's going to be a price to pay for that one.
Airborne's going to set his first counting lap this time. No penalties through Casio triangle, but like you say, a mistake on the way in.
Yeah.
9,
it's going to be
10
place.
Good enough for 8th. That puts him halfway up the field, which he'll be happy with.
But of
Lewis
course,
on track behind McEwen as well.
Yeah. So everyone looks like they've got a lap. Stoney Malone, Stone Harbour, he's given up. He's called enough, so he's done a 2:10.7. So that's good enough for 10th at the moment. Obviously, again, we still do have Sly Ben and Simon Bishop yet to set our time in the first place. I mean, do you reckon Simon might go for the last to first? He's certainly capable.
Well, it's not something he'd shy away from, I'm sure, but any opportunity to not, probably valued by him. Wouldn't be the first time either. He, I think it was Red Bull Ring that he started dead last, because he disconnected from qualifying. So he's done his one for the season, I think. I think it's fair to say he'll probably want to put himself in a respectable position on the grid.
Absolutely. And McEwen's just gone purple by 0.3. So he's got the potential to really steal that pole away from Caleb in the dying minutes of this quali session.
Caleb on the lap 2. He's actually 3/10 up on his own lap time as he comes through 130R. As long as he's mistake-free on the way to the line, he will maintain this pole position. 3/10, unbelievable, Nathan. That's going to put him in the 207s. McEwen goes 4/10 purple. Caleb is going to have to throw something at the line here to get himself across, and he's got a half-second penalty. That means his lap is invalid. Oh no, Caleb lost it all in the last sector of his last lap. And McEwen provisional pole, unless Simon has something to say about it. One of the only drivers on track that could potentially have an answer for him.
Angus goes 10th.
Simon to the line, he goes second, he clears Caleb as well, unbelievable. Ben Groves with a 2:13, puts him 14th unfortunately for him, so he's going to be doing the last to first challenge this time around. Simon-esque, McEwen, pole position. Sidog in second. Caleb, who would have been second if he hadn't got that penalty. I saw his time across the line. He was 2/10 blue, which would mean he was ahead of Simon based on that alone. So that penalty cost him a position.
Oh, he will be gutted, and unfortunately, that's not the first heartbreak that he's had this season. Yeah. What do you reckon about that? That was, I mean, who could have guessed? I mean, that was anybody's game. Definitely some drivers that I would say are not where they perhaps should have been. But again, this is what happens when you get these really quick fire qualifying sessions, right? It's such a quick turnaround that they just do not have the chance. It's almost a shootout. It's obviously not one lap, but it's very almost a shootout. That was intense.
Yeah, it was a tough qualifying session for these guys, but, you know, the cream rises, as the old saying goes. McEwen, our reigning champion from last year and point leader for the championship, puts it on pole by just shy of 3/10 over Cy Bishop, our veteran international New Zealand competitor. Ahead of Caleb, the newcomer to the series, who does have a win to his name this season, so he's definitely brought the fight to the two veterans of the game. But he's going to have to give it everything for the remainder of the season if he wants a chance at coming out on top in terms of points. Big Head Ted in fourth, the drifter from Auckland. Good to see him up near the front end in crimson with an excellent qualifying session. Fifth, I think, might be his best qualifying result of the season so far. Dive Cable as well. Sixth place off the back of a podium last week, which he would have been very happy with. And Scotty Shot You in the top half. P7 with a 209.134. HC Lewis, our third place in the point standings at the moment, is P8 on the grid. Move into our P9. Airborne stakes a claim. He's ahead of Slyben the Cat, who is his nearest competitor on points. So that's important for him. Clan Fever as well will give himself a boost if he maintains the position he's in. Angus GDR, a promotion from Division 2 earlier in the season, does start P11. Stone Harbour P12. Freelix, our promotion from Division 2 on account of an absence for Monkey Matt, and P13. And Slyben the Cat, unable to set a representative lap time, will start in 14th. Nathan, your thoughts?
Oh, mate, look at some of these stories that have cropped up here. I mean, Airborne will be breathing a sigh of relief, like you say. He just needs to worry about Slyben the Cat in this. Obviously, if he can do better, I don't think he'll shy away, but he'll definitely have his eye on old Ben. Also, Simon Bishop. I mean, dude, he was dead last for 90% of that session, and then he just comes out with a 2:08.1. I mean, that is phenomenal performance under what would have been a heap of pressure, especially knowing that, I mean, we've got 3 race winners so far this series, and here they are starting 1, 2, 3. So, I mean, that's pretty... I think he would have been a bit gutted if he'd started any lower, but he definitely put it together. And then, of course, McEwen, the only driver in the 7s. And, of course, last week when we made the same comment about, the only driver in this time bracket, and then in the race itself, the times tumbled. So I'm not going to say that's the fastest we'll see tonight, but it's definitely a good strong showing from the man who you would have your money on.
Yep, and no surprise, leaving it late. Simon Bishop, he does love a late start. I can tell you that from experience, having spent some time with him overseas. Bit of a late riser, old Simon, but he gets himself to P2 in the front row here for round number 5. We're going to go to a quick intermission in between qualifying and the race, just as we sort out some more equipment for the race. But we will be back in but 5 minutes, so don't go anywhere. We will return. See you soon. Welcome back, everyone. Just cut our intermission short a little bit as we have sorted everything out on this end, and I must welcome into the studio with me here at Respawn Esports HQ our pole sitter, Matthew McEwen. Welcome, mate.
Thank you.
Congratulations on another pole position, mate. How do you feel after that one? It was a little bit touch and go for a little bit after Caleb set a good lap early on. How did that qualifying feel for you?
It was pretty good. That was pretty much the best lap I could possibly have done, so I'm really happy with it.
How much time did you spend on practice for qualifying versus the race?
uh, I'm not sure if I should answer that because it was almost nothing and almost nothing.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Probably,
so
yeah, it's not an awful lot. So, I was just fighting for my life out there, trying to use as much experience as I had.
that's good. Well, you got plenty to your name with international competitions under your belt, and I actually have to mention as well, while we've got you here, you recently became an E-Black. You want to just let everyone know about that?
Yeah. Well, it might be either one of or the most proud achievement of mine, actually. Yeah, I'll be going to the Global Esports Games in December in China as a New Zealand E-Black, one of two for sim racing, and yeah, hopefully I'll do New Zealand proud.
Great stuff. And that's on Assetto Corsa Competizione, which you qualified in a national championship against the names like Ewan Baker and Monkey Matt, who are previously E-Blacks themselves. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, they beat me out for the qualifier last time, which was gutting.
Well, congratulations. That's a huge achievement, and hopefully you can carry that success through the race tonight.
Thank you, I'll try.
Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck.
I'll need it, but yeah.
Alrighty, we'll see you on track. And that
All
concludes
right. See you
our
then.
interview with reigning champion Matthew McEwen. So we'll head over to the race screen very, very shortly. Nathan, your thoughts on qualifying?
Yeah, like you say, every time you have these quick fire quali sessions, it's bound to be pretty explosive. And like I say, the pecking order is not entirely 100% the way I would have envisioned it. But it's we now got 19 laps of arguably one of the most technical racetracks in the world. So it's going to be exciting. And now, yeah, what do you do for tire strategy? What do you do for fuel strategy? I mean, we saw guys taking tires in the qualifying session, so you got the impression that it's a fairly aggressive multiplier. But yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting.
Excited to see how this goes, and tyre selection at the beginning will be important. No doubt our front runners will be starting on softer compounded tyres with the hards towards the back. But I think we've kept the audience waiting long enough, Nathan. How about we get this race underway?
Yeah, let's do it, mate.
Alrighty, the lights are being set up. The drivers will take to the grid for round number 5 of the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. 3 more point scoring races to be run for our drivers this season before we decide our 10 live finalists for the live finals in Wellington on November the 16th. To the grid we go. Our drivers line up, ready to rock. All the lights are on. And our drivers are away and racing. Down to turn 1 they will go. McEwen leads the way to the outside and manages to hold on to the lead through turn 1, and no incidents to befall our top 3 on the way through. Simon maintains second place as well, important for him through the start of this race, and Caleb third place. Our 3 main protagonists of this year managed to keep their top 3 places intact. They'll be happy about that one. Big Head Ted also in 4th position there, ahead of Crimson. Not too many changes so far. Nathan, any light you can shed on tyre selection at this point in the race?
Mate, it's fairly varied. We've got a whole bunch of guys who have gone all different routes. Lewis, unfortunately, taking to the gravel right just on the end of those S's, so he'll be gutted. He's got it all to do now, but didn't quite catch what happened there. I just caught him sticking his nose straight to the dirt, so unfortunate there for him. Fairly even start across the board. There wasn't any bogs, no penalties, nobody jumped the gun. They've been getting really good at these false start launches, and yeah, just absolutely. This is the really careful opening laps where people don't want to take too many risks, because you make a misstep this early in the piece, and you've got it all to do.
Dangerous position to put yourself in. It's almost an endurance race, this one. Got to be very careful how you run about here. Simon's still in second place as we come to 130R for the first time of asking. Looks like the top 4 have branched off a little bit. Dive Cable and P5 losing touch a little bit. A little bit of a tyre difference there, perhaps, Nate?
Yeah, possibly. I'm actually not looking at the tyres just at the moment. We're going to give it a few laps and then sort of see how that situation evolves. Frelix has also had a nightmare. He's in the wall with damage, so unfortunate for these guys getting smacked in the early stages. And he goes around
him going around again.
That's absolutely painful for as far as opening laps go. And once again, I mean, Frelix in particular, he's had such a horrible run in sim racing, not just in the NZERS, but in seemingly everything he puts his talent to. It's a crying shame because we know he's better than that. But it looks like the hard luck streak's going to continue, so he's got it all to play for here at Suzuka. Meanwhile, we got Simon, who's really on the back of McEwen, 3 tenths. Caleb's a little bit further behind. He's about 6 tenths, 5 tenths, so he's definitely sort of holding back and waiting to gain, capitalise on any mistakes that they make. If the two tangle, he stands to gain, and then in turn Big Head Ted stands to gain, and then there's a bit more of a gap to Dive Cable in 5th. That's your top 5, and then you've got the battlers on for 6th at the moment. You've got Crimson, Scotty, Airborne, Ben, and Stone Harbour all arguing over that 6th place spot. 5 cars going for 1 spot. That's we know how this story plays out, don't we, Tom?
Well, we'll jump on board with Ben because he is likely to be the big mover in this situation. Sees Stone Harbour to the inside there, manages to fend him off. But starting at the back, yeah. So this is high pressure between Ben and Airborne because they are the two who are sort of toing and froing when it comes to the qualifying position for the live finals. Down the inside for Stone Harbour, pushes Ben wide.
That
a little bit of contact there.
That might attract the attention of the stewards if he's not if he does much more of that. Of course, these aren't. This isn't a full contact, anything goes motorsport. Is there an invoice for that one? Does he have a price to pay?
Looks like there might have been a little redress there back to 11th place for Stone Harbour, because I have no doubt that he would have been able to take that position if he had decided that he wanted to. So I wonder if he sort of lifted and redressed that position. Now it's getting interesting up the top, and it's quite interesting as well seeing that incident unfold. Ben Groves was the victim of an incident. Well, he caused the incident, but he was the victim of his own last time out at the first corner at Blue Moon Bay, getting a little bit loose on exit, and I thought for a second we were going to see a repeat with the dirty tyres on exit from Spoon, but managed to keep it together, gather it all back up, and now applying a lot of pressure on Airborne. Now, this might not necessarily be a clear indicator of a difference in pace. It may be that Ben is on a better tyre than Airborne at this stage, and that may be what's causing him to have this overspeed. And there we go to the outside. Ben around Airborne, or attempts it anyway, to the inside for Dunlop, and Airborne
now turns onto the inside, so it's sort of
forced to give way, but they're still side by side. This is great running around the outside from Airborne. Here we are on the inside for the Digna corners, and they're wheel to wheel through there as well. Great sportsmanship from both drivers. Ben goes around the outside through Digna 1 and takes P8, and that is a huge change for the championship.
That's also a huge blow for Airborne too, because he's currently running the softs. He's one of the few drivers to have started on the soft tyres, so to lose out to someone who's not on the softs, that's not why you put sticky tyres on, is it? So that's he's going to have to try and sort of get that spot back if he wants to. If he wants the tyre strategy to work in his favour. Obviously you can still do well on your own talent, but it does help when you've got the tyre grip to match. And like you say, you sort of alluded to it a bit earlier there. This is early in the piece, so those who are on the better tyres are going to run away, and it might look like they're just better at racing, but they might just have the better rubber. And obviously as we get to the end of the stint, so to speak, depending on their strategies.
Down the inside at 130 Alpha, Ben Groves, down the inside of Crimson, makes it stick. Wow!
That was brave. That was
You don't see a lot of moves
brave.
there. This just speaks volumes. What you mentioned about the tyre difference as well for Ben versus Airborne, it really speaks volumes of the talent of Ben on display here. Having recently been promoted up to Division 1 and clearly not setting a representative lap time in qualifying, and displaying now how much better his pace is than what was reflected on that qualifying lineup. So great to see him putting it all on track now, 7th place and climbing. for Ben Groves.
Yes.
Now he'll come up very soon, it looks like, against Big Head Ted. Now I don't know if I think you might have paid a bit of attention to this last week, Nate, the battle between Ted and Ben.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a talking point of the Blue Moon Bay race, wasn't it? And, I relate to you there, Ben. I'm terrible at qualifying, and then the race rolls around and I manage to gain a whole bunch of spots. I don't quite understand it, but it's just the way I am. So if we relate in that regard, then much love, brother. But no, look, he's got 1.2 seconds to Scotty Ray, who in turn is right on the bumper of Big Head Ted. So if he can catch up, then he might be able to get a 2-for-1. We have seen that sort of ballsy move in the past, as long as he doesn't... as long as he goes about it the right way. And I mean, looking at some of these sectors that these guys are taking, the lap times are just absolutely tumbling. Interesting to note as well, that tailwind going into 130R is almost twice as strong as it was in quali. It's now up to 5.1 meters a second. So as you say, that lack of downforce, that lack of grip, and all that extra speed that they might not have otherwise, arriving at arguably one of the scariest corners in the world. Yeah, that's going to be a bit... you can only practice so much when it comes to individual wind directions. And, Gran Turismo does such a good job of modelling unique weather. Almost no two laps are the same because you've got wind and tyre temp and track temp, and there's just so much more that goes into the technology of GT7, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot for the drivers to juggle, most certainly. And interesting you bring up tyre temps as well. It takes a very, very special kind of driver on Gran Turismo 7 to discover the existence of tyre temps and how to monitor them. You actually need an external application on your phone to access that data. But plenty of guys out there have it, and we're now watching Sly Ben the Cat creep up onto the back of Scotty Shot You. I was just checking in as well on the leaders. It looks like McEwen has pulled a 3-second gap to Caleb behind, and Caleb himself has gotten the better of Cy Bishop as well to get himself up to second place. Very close through turn 1 for Ben and Scotty. Going to battle it out for a little bit here. Somewhere along there Caleb's managed to nip Psydog, but again, it is still comparatively early in the day. We also have Dive Cable, who's lurking in the back. We know that he'd certainly take another podium with both hands. He was stoked that he managed to get a podium at Blue Moon Bay. He was messaging me after the race, absolutely elated. He just could not be prouder. Obviously a win would be phenomenal, but for him a podium was just awesome. So it's cool to see him starting to get some results reflective of his where he's at. And of course he's he's a little bit older on than some of these guys, so it just shows you can still be quick when you have a wife and kids, which of course not a lot of these people do they? So... No, a lot of guys still very much in their youth, but Dive Cable showing us that perhaps experience can trump youthful energy often enough. So yeah, it was great to see him get a podium last time out. Really, really good. And he's been waiting on a result like that for some time, and really been putting the work in to get there. So very, very much deserved. So hopefully he can continue that good form and continue his climb up the top, because he seems to be improving week in, week out. Last year I believe he actually didn't qualify for the live finals, but he was brought in as a reserve driver for someone else, if I remember correctly.
He was.
So he was outside that top 10, and this year he's making strides for the podium on regular occasions. Top 5 is standard for him now. If he got anything less than 5th, I think he'd be disappointed at this stage. So
absolutely.
It just speaks volumes to how much he's improved over the last year.
Oh, you're certainly right. The improvement, and also just the natural progression, because like all good skills, the more you do something, the better you get at it. Just bring your attention to 14th Stoney. So he's already pitted. Stoney's the first of our drivers to pit, and he got a 3-second penalty.
Yeah,
I don't know
line penalty.
So second race in a row he's botched a pit stop. Don't necessarily know that he slammed into the wall, but
we did witness that though on the broadcast last week though, didn't we?
Don't want a 3-second penalty either. Scotty Ray's also into the pit. So these are, I can only assume they were the soft runners, because you wouldn't pit so soon if you were going for the hard stint or whatever. But yeah, just going through the grid at the moment, I think Airborne's the only one left on the soft tyres, and like you say, he's not under assault anymore, but he needs to try and catch Sly Ben the Cat if he wants to. If we want to see him in Wellington later on in the year.
Yeah, well, either that or take someone else on, perhaps the next driver up the standings, which I forget which one that is, but there's certainly opportunity for things to change. The one that I'm really keeping an eye on is Slide Ben the Cat, though. He's carrying a half-second penalty now, but he is chewing time out of our resident drifting legend, Big Head Ted, in 5th place. And these guys came to blows last week, very much so, at Blue Moon Bay in Field A. A very, very aggressive defence from Big Head Ted last week saw Slide Ben unable to get by before the end of the race. He did actually get by at one point, but then immediately had the serve returned to him by Big Head Ted following corner. So Big Head Ted seemingly doing something that would make the Mexican Minister of Defense, Chico Perez, proud, and putting up a defense of a lifetime against the 15-year-old prodigy in the form of Slide Ben the Cat. So 6th place serves his penalty. He'll go down to about 2 seconds behind Big Head Ted, and he'll have to push again to catch back up. Now, tyre difference, of course, we've talked about this a little bit already. Tyre difference will come into play at some point in this race, but we know that both of these tyres aren't on the softs based on what we've heard from Nathan so far. And importantly as well, Cy Bishop has gotten the better of Caleb once again. So
Yes.
these two drivers trading positions now and again, it seems, and McEwen taking advantage. It seems every time there's a change in position for these two, McEwen pulls that gap to a little bit further ahead. So Christmas come early for the young Manawatu representative and recently qualified E-Black for New Zealand. Out to 4.1 now, and a fairly safe lead at the moment as it sits, and it seems that 2nd and 3rd fighting amongst themselves for that 2nd place repeatedly over the course of the lap. So I wonder if that'll bring Dive Cable into it as well.
Well, potentially, and I mean we've seen it before at like Brands Hatch and such. The more 2nd and 3rd argue, the easier it is for the leader, isn't it? And you know, these guys, maybe they'll be of the mind to work together and try and sort of bring that gap up together. But if these guys are playing, you know, a bit selfishly, if it's no, I want to get that spot and I will fight you for it, then yeah, perhaps that's not the wisest way to go about it. But you know, who are we to tell them what to do? They're the ones doing the business. And I mean, I'll tell you what though, Caleb is definitely on the back foot when it comes to tyre life. He's absolutely burned up those tyres compared to Simon and even McEwen. McEwen's had, you know, the easiest job. He's just hitting his lines, hitting his braking points, nice and easy. Simon's not that far off him, but then Caleb round. He almost gets it, almost goes a full 360, but that has definitely put a kink in his strategy, and that's now opened him up to Dive Cable. 1.5 seconds to Dive Cable.
Let's have a look at what happened here. On the exit of Spoon, does he put a wheel in the AstroTurf? He does, all the way out to the gravel. Very loose. Great recovery, though. Manages to keep it on track. Fantastic.
Oh, we've lost him too. Caleb's left the room. He's left the lobby. So
a disconnect, perhaps?
A massive. Oh, I don't know. That not what you want to see in either way, because he was in such a good shape to take some points there, and of course, having missed last race, he needs these points. So that is a very big. Great for everyone else. Everyone else has gone up a spot, but yeah, that's not what you want to see ever. So.
No, not at all. Hopefully it was just a disconnect, but we'll see. The stewards will review, as that is part of the rules of the series. But I think as far as points go, he's got quite a good tally to his name so far this season, does Caleb. So I think, and plenty of opportunity for more points as well in the final round. 2 rounds back to back. With points there, so he can still save himself most certainly, but you know, yeah, it'll be a bit of a blow to his campaign, that's for sure. But realistically, everything is for play at the live finals, so as long as he makes it there, he'll be in with a shout at the championship, I think.
Especially like you say, when you're trying to get those all critical points leading up to the live event, because you know there are still points on offer for the live events, and he's one of our only race winners. So yeah, again,
one of 3, I think. Yeah,
one of 3. So we've had McEwen, Simon, and Caleb. Yeah, All right, enough about that. Net positive for Dive Cable, though. He's been handed a podium position.
Back to the podium for Dive Cable.
So
he'll be stoked.
He'll be happy. He'll probably send Caleb a thank you card, but no, I'm just kidding. That's a bit. Anyway, but
That might be a
he's
bit rough. I mean, to be fair, when it comes to Dive Cable, I would not be surprised if he did something like that. To be completely honest with you,
he's a quality bloke. We met at Hampton Downs at the 24. Absolutely good guy, and so he's sort of in no man's land at the moment. 4 seconds to Simon, 4.3 to Ted. He's just got to do what he's so good at. We've been talking about it all season. He's just consistent, and what are we? Lap 8 coming into lap 9. Actually, Simon's in the pits now, so now we're going to probably start seeing some of these front runners.
Simon in off the mediums, end of lap 8. Yeah, so. Just touching base with Sly Ben the Cat as well, who's dropped behind Big Head Ted by 4 seconds now, which is a bit of a surprise because he was catching up to him, and then he served a penalty and dropped to nearly 2 seconds back, and now he's 4. So we did just see him go wide at 130R as well, a dodgy place to go wide, that's for certain. Not somewhere that you want to do that, but managed to gather it up. Did drop some time though. So Simon goes from the mediums to the hards. I suspect our leaders are doing a one stop at this point. We've seen a couple of guys come in off the softs, which suggests that the 2-stop is an option that some people are pursuing, but one stop seems to be the method of choice for our leaders.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I'd say you'd be about right. And interesting too, they haven't filled all the way up, so hopefully they've done their fuel numbers right. And I mean, again, hards and mediums are the mandatory, softs are the if you want. So we've already seen a couple of guys who started the race on the softs, and those guys have automatically said they're going to do a 2-stop, haven't they? So look, we know that some of these guys can really make their tyres last, and every time we try and predict how long the tyres are going to last, they end up showing us up by 2, 3, sometimes 4 laps, right? So it's these guys have done their homework, they've done all their research and their testing, and I mean, this is the New Zealand esports racing series. It's the top sim racing event in the country, so you'd expect them to sort of know what they're doing, basically.
Well, it tends to be a trending thing. They do seem to have a pretty firm head screwed on their shoulders across the board. And strategy-wise, not surprised to see a bit of deviation though, because these guys do like to take risks and go out on a limb. A lot of the times, there's always 1 or 2 or 3, which there seems to be this time around as well.
Absolutely. So 31 seconds. So looking at Simon at the moment, because he's pitted, 31 seconds to McEwen. We're gonna. I'll keep you updated on that gap because McEwen hasn't pitted just yet, but we'll see. We'll find out whether or not his undercut has worked, because he's catching up to Clan Fever at the moment. Clan's going to have no answer to that because he's still
perfect for Simon. Perfect for Simon. Clan pulled out of the way just at the right time.
Dive Cable's also in the pits too, so he's just, again, all he's got to do is keep up, and he's already starting to reel in McEwen a little bit. We're down to 30.7.
Fresh tyres, right? Yeah.
And the longer McEwen stays out, potentially the more risk there is of making a mistake or just being too off the pace because his tyres have expired. And that's a textbook undercut, isn't it? That's what you want to do. So
I mean, if McEwen's truthful about his practice, he's probably winging his strategy right now. So it's pretty safe to assume he started on the medium tyres, and he doesn't know how long to expect them to last. So, based on what we're seeing, it looks like it's time for him to pit, but he's staying out.
Yep. Well, the longer he can stay out on the mediums, the better shape his hards will be too. So that's sort of the flip side. Does McEwen overcut Simon? So, it's
well, based on the situation, I'd look at it this way: that he's done 9 laps on the mediums. He has 10 laps to go. If the mediums can do 9 laps, then the hards can absolutely do 10 laps. Because naturally they're going to go further. So I think it's time McEwen put it in. I think it's safe to assume that he probably will at the end of this lap anyway. But it seems to me, he's maintaining that gap to Simon. It's back up to 31. So it's, I guess, swings and roundabouts.
but he's just making slight messes on the like he just mucked up the line to 130R just a little bit there. He's going for one more, so he's not even pitting yet. Yeah, but I mean, like this is the gamble, right? We're watching his lines, and he's just getting, just more and more out of shape. He's not doing. His times are still all good. He's doing a 2:10.2 that time round. So he's within range of sort of where you'd expect, but the problem
he must be
is
seeing the other medium runners pit in and wondering.
He must be. I mean, again, we've seen it before. We'll see it again, I'm sure. But yeah, this is interesting and yeah, like you say, that gap to Simon is being maintained, 31-0. So he's, it's not hurting him, but it's certainly. I mean, is it something that you'd do?
Did Airborne start on the softs? No.
Did. No, he did.
Well, he's in the pits now off the softs, so I would assume he didn't do 2 stints on the softs of 5 laps each. But
did he?
I don't know. Either that, it seems to be either that, or he did 10 laps on the softs. I doubt that one because, we probably would have seen.
Yeah, he was one of the only ones to start on the softs. So I'm wondering.
I wonder what happened there. We have not kept up well enough with our resident Airborne. I don't think.
In any case, there's Ben. So go get him, mate. Go get him.
He's 7th, but he owes another stop, and I think Ben hit it in off the mediums, if I recall correctly. So
he did, yeah, because it was only Airborne and bugger, there was only a handful of them that started on the softs, and they were not the front runners.
No, I think it was Stone Harbour as well.
Stoney and I think Clan. I think Clan might have also started on the softs.
Felix, perhaps.
Nah, he
did have a spin early.
Cards, I think. Yeah, he got taken out lap 1, just like Lewis. In fact, Lewis has had a good recovery. He's back up to 8th, and that's after he found the dirt lap 1, sort of like the first sector, end of the first sector. He was in the dirt, so
he's not far off Airborne either, is he?
Good, strong recovery from him. And I mean, again, if he can do that sort of recovery, you know that he would be wishing he was a little bit further up the field, but. As you've already made mention, some of these guys, they just want to make it to Wellington because that's where the real business end of this competition is, isn't it? So
that's
right. Like
you
say, there's a whole bunch of narratives and a whole bunch of stories that are cropping up. McEwen going around again, so his lap times are just not dropping off. That was a 2:10.5. I mean, he's actually pulled away from Bishop Simon. He's a 31-0 at the moment. He's just.
Is he on the hards? What is going on with McEwen?
No, he's on the mediums. He's definitely getting his money's worth. He paid for that whole tyre. He's going to use that whole tyre.
Running them right to the canvas. So we're on board with Lewis at the moment, who's chasing down Airborne. Naturally, it looks like he's going to have the pace to dispatch them soon. Now just watching the chase. And Ben Groves, the other one that we want to keep an eye on as well, chasing down Big Head Ted. I really want to see the fireworks come out of that one because I think they will if those two end up together on track again.
Yeah, mate, we've seen it before. Yeah, absolutely. That's it'll keep the stewards busy if things do go pear-shaped. But no, look, again, we expect these guys to keep a standard as far as their racing manners and their racing etiquette. They can't just go punting people off and blocking and ramming and dive bombing as much as some of their peers might tell them that it's okay. It doesn't actually fly around here. So, yeah, look, we'll see. We are coming into the...
Stewards will enforce the rules with an iron fist, I think.
Absolutely. Penalty for McEwen. Half a second penalty for McEwen. So that might sort of make him realise, hang on a minute, I should probably get off these tyres. They're not going to pass him off anymore.
I think he's looked at that half-second penalty and gone, oh no, a half-second out of my 31-second lead. Whatever will I do?
Yeah, but when you look at the pit loss, he's not going to want to give up too much time. I mean, there's being a bit cheeky and then there's being generous, and he's not going to want to be generous to Simon because... I
wonder what his fuel situation compares to with Simon in terms of... Because Simon will have refueled at that first stop because these guys can't make it to the end on fuel. So naturally their fuel won't be comparable. There we go. In he comes. 32 litres on board and mediums off, and he'll go into the hards, no doubt. For the remaining 7 laps? 7 laps.
Yep. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say Crimson would also come in too, because Crimson's one of the other late. He's really drawn out his hard tyre stint. Just seeing where Bishop. So Bishop's just coming out of the final little complex there. He's going to come down the timeline. It's actually probably going to be a bit close. Not as close.
McEwen's on the way out. Yeah, no, that pit lane's pretty long, but it's less than 10 seconds, which is more than he can say for what it was before they pitted in.
Yep. Now this is the thing too. McEwen's on hard tyres and he's on cold tyres, so he's going to be a little bit vulnerable. The gap's now 4 seconds. It is slowly being trimmed away, but
that's pretty similar to what it was before the pit stops happened, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you got to remember you had Caleb in the middle there too for a while. So now that he's not a factor, Bishop doesn't have to fight anybody to get up to McEwen. So it's game on. And but then on the flip side, Matt's got how many laps fresher tyres than Simon? So that overcut might well have been the way to go. And of course, Dive Cable again, just absolutely in no man's land. He'll be stoked with the podium, I can already tell you. Big hit
on the trot,
yeah. Ben 5th and Airborne 6th with a question mark over whether or not he's still got to make another stop yet. Half a second penalty for Lewis. So again, we're not quite sure where these guys are picking up these penalties, but they are.
Oh, I think Ben might have gone round. No, there he is. Yep.
Oh, that is really unfortunate. Well,
he's been having issues for some time now. He seems to be his own worst enemy so far this race. He keeps taking time out of the person in front of him and then losing it back again. But he will probably take on Lewis when he serves his penalty out of Spoon, though. And Lewis as well, he seems to be right on the cusp of getting that position from Airborne, but that half-second penalty is going to put him on the back foot again, and sort of put away those chances for another lap at the very least. So we'll jump on board with Ben.
Catching up to a driver is one thing, but passing them is another. And again, of course, these cars are physical objects. You can't just drive through them. You do actually. There is a skill, there is an art in making an overtake. As much as some people, this is why you see those time trial sweats that do 1 billion laps, and they're the world record fastest, but they can't race for the life of them because they don't know how to actually pass a car. So again, different skill sets, and again, he's young, so he's still got a fair bit to learn, I'm sure. He might not know all of the tricks of the trade, but some of these guys do. And like you say, his own worst enemy is probably the way to put it. Which it's unfortunate, but I mean he's still 7th, so that's still valuable points towards the effort. And we do have 2 more full points races to go before we decide our order for Wellington.
That's right. So Ben on the back of Lewis now as they head into lap 14 and 19. Ben looking to the inside. Lewis manages to hold on. They'll enter the S's very, very close together. Lewis is going to have to start thinking about what's behind him more than what's in front of him in the near future. But it's looking pretty good for Airborne right now, because naturally we were talking about how Ben is his nearest rival in terms of points. 5th place actually would be a great result for Airborne, but I think that last pit stop's hanging over him a little bit.
Yeah, there's still that question mark over whether or not he's got to box one more time, which if he does, that puts him down, 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 spots. So again, not quite sure what the strategy call was there. Did he start on the wrong tyres? Who knows, right? But yeah, look, we'll find out soon. Obviously, we don't get to see who starts on what and when, or we do, but I'm fairly certain you wouldn't have gotten 11 laps out of one set of softs, right? So that's,
I don't know. I've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He may be the new tyre whisperer, eclipsing Monkey Matt.
Oh, he could be. God, I wish Matt was here to race this. This would be, he'd love this. But yeah, no, it's, even McEwen's still just a little bit out of shape. Possibly dialed in more on the mediums. Those hards are just probably a little bit, like you say, if he's done as little practice as he says he has, he might well have practiced all on the mediums, and now he's got to sort of learn how the hards work. But you wouldn't know it looking at his time. That was a 2:10.1. So yeah,
pretty rapid in consideration of where he's at in terms of tyre and tyre life as well. Simon holding that circa 4-second gap. Lewis and Ben going at it. Actually, I just want to have a look at this. Crimson coming up on them as well, and they've really got out of shape through the Casio triangle. We'll take another look at that shortly, but Lewis on the outside of Ben. wants to take it back.
Tangle, boys. This isn't where you want to tangle. Watch out, because it's going to go very pear-shaped if you're
Lewis
too
going
brash.
very aggressive. Crimson, nearly into the AstroTurf there. Ben takes the position, and Lewis going to try for the switchback. He's going to keep it alongside on the way into the S's. Lewis on the outside gets
Lewis off
into the grass, and he's on the grass on the other side now.
That was a little bit dodgy from Bean. He kind of cut the corner a bit wide and sort of edged Lewis off into the dirt. That might attract the attention of the stewards, so we'll have to see if there's any flags for that.
It'll be pending an incident report, I think, but yeah, definitely a little bit out of shape for those guys. But the upshot is, Crimson replaces Lewis in P6, and Sly Ben remains where he started.
Yeah, and it's not over yet, because you get the feeling that Ben might try something at the hairpin, because, I mean, I would. We're going to have to wait and see, because these guys are they know they're running out of laps, they know they're running out of race mileage, so, I mean, just, whoa.
I think Crimson's going to drive away here, because if I remember correctly, he ran the hard tyres first, and Ben ran the medium tyres first, which means the roles are reversed, and Crimson is on the better tyre of the two, and he's running a short stint. He's running the same length stint as McEwen is running on the hard tyres, so I think Crimson is just going to drive away here as long as he can keep it together, and that sort of suggests or answers why Crimson was able to catch these two kind of out of nowhere. We didn't really see him coming, so I think we're probably going to see Crimson drive away, and what I wonder is, will we see Lewis come back for that 7th place again?
Oh, absolutely. You'll know that he was spewing about that one, because, I mean, that was quite questionable there from Ben. I mean, we'd have to get another replay to sort of look at that angle, but it did definitely look like he tried to go probably one nose length too far, and yeah, again, these cars, you can't just...
I'm going to have a look at that Casio triangle on board with Crimson. Lewis went wide at 130R, and that's how Ben got through. Lewis down the inside of Casio triangle pushes Ben off the track prior to Ben retaking the position, and then Crimson runs up the rear of Ben as he is left with nowhere to go on exit from the Casio triangle. So a very, very rough turn of events between those two drivers.
And it's still not over, because Ben's just put one over on Crimson. So now Ben up into 6th with Crimson absolutely fighting. He is glued to that rear bumper. And again, it's still not over. They're still squabbling.
This is going to be good for Lewis if that does continue to be a battle between the pair of them. That will bring them back into contention for him, but it looks like he might be struggling himself. We'll see what he can do from here. Check in with our leaders here on lap 16. McEwen maintaining a 4.7, comfortable to Cy Bishop in 2nd, who has himself a half-second penalty. He's 9 seconds clear of Dive Cable in 3rd. Sly Ben and Crimson going at it. You can see it on the leaderboard there. Dive Cable, podium position for him right now, and he just has to bring it home from here. Big Head Ted.
Penalty for Simon as well, half a second.
Yep. Solid for Big Head Ted. A 4th position will do him well in the point standings. Airborne P5, still probably owing another stop, but it'll be interesting to see what comes of him and Sly Ben, who's actually been re-overtaken by Crimson, who's actually pulled a little bit of a gap now. 7/10 between the two drivers, and Lewis has cut that gap down to 3.6 in behind.
Yeah,
as we come towards the business end of this race, we're getting to the point where it's going to be who's where, who's who of this particular race. It looks like Crimson might be a little bit out of shape there through the Casio triangle, but he's holding on. Lewis in P8, going to try to fight it back, but it looks like he's going to end up where he is right now, excluding of course a pit stop from Airborne should that come late on.
And excluding, of course, if Crimson and Sly Ben really come to blows, because there is still potential for that. We've seen them already biff and bash a little bit, so they're not scared to swap paint.
I think Crimson might be feeling the pressure a little bit.
Well, I would be. He's again, like you say, these are all valuable points towards the championship effort, and we are running out of time as far as being able to secure your seat in Wellington, because that is quite the spectacle. I mean, you know as well as I how cool it is to be there and what sort of an event that is. It's certainly the place to be if you're serious about your sim racing. But Lewis now 4.2, so that gap is actually slowly falling apart. I think he might have cooked his tyres just quietly. Yeah. How many more opportunities do you have to really put a move on the other guy?
Lewis appears to be accepting his fate in P8. A little bit of weaving on the track. I think he knows he's on the broadcast screen at the moment. But I do want to take a look a bit further down as well at our guys towards the back of the field. Felix, P13, Scotty in 12th after a great qualifying as well for Scotty. It's not gone too well for him in the race. Important for these guys coming into the late stages of this round. Round 6 to come next week is 2 races back to back, our double header with points scored for both races. It's important that you are in Division 1 for round 6 when it comes, because the points on offer are so much higher. You know, you have 2 races back to back with 30 points available for the winner. So you know, you really want to be in Division 1 coming into that race. So if you put yourself in a position now where you're going to be demoted down to Division 2, it's not going to be good for your chances in round 6, because you can only score a maximum of 18 per race in Division 2, which might not be enough to see you jump up to the top 10. You might be able to get yourself up to 14th, but top 10 probably not.
But like you mentioned, if you're at least high enough in Div 2 and then someone from Div 1 pulls out, I mean, that's how Dive Cable got in last year. He wasn't even in Division 1. So it's not necessarily the end of the world, but like you say, anything you can do to help your chances, anything you can do to sort of give yourself that little extra boost, that little extra, you know, set yourself up in a position to secure your plane ticket, they're definitely not going to want to leave anything on the table. And
yeah, there's
you're seeing it now. McEwen's just pulling away. He's up to 9.5 seconds from Simon, up from, what was it, 4 seconds when he left.
I think
the pits.
Simon might have had an incident. I know he served a half-second penalty, but the gap to Dive Cable was cut down to 4 seconds as well. So it was 8. So I think Simon's had a bit of a slide, maybe an off at 130R on the lap just gone. It's caused him to drop back a little bit. I don't know how his tyres are doing, but if Dive Cable's got an advantage there, we might be looking at an opportunity for Dive Cable to sneak himself into P2.
And we know he definitely would be happy with that. I mean, yeah, certainly. And we've got, probably about 1.25 laps to go. McEwen's going to get the white flag this time round. And, I mean, dude, how much more action can we cram into one single lap? I feel like I might jinx that if I ask.
Our guys might give us a good show. So McEwen comes through the Casio Triangle for the penultimate time, leading the race by 9.5 seconds. Cy Bishop in second place, looking a little bit precarious, but safe enough if he can just keep it together on this lap from Dive Cable, who's currently in P3. Big Head Ted in fourth place. He'll be happy with where he is right now. Good for the points, good for the chances in the live finals. Airborne. Now this is one I want to see. He's coming through the Casio Triangle now. This is his last chance to make a stop. Does he come in? No. Okay, so Airborne might be on for 5th place here, assuming he hasn't broken any of the rules of the race and missed a mandatory tyre.
And just behind him, here come Ben and Crimson. They're going to go side
Ben
by side.
Ben and Crimson going at it again. Unbelievable. To the inside for Sly Ben.
Are we going to see an outcome any different? He gets Ben's a little on the inside. He
Crimson
kind of
has to bail out a little bit.
He had to bail out, but then he responds by putting his Morse code right onto the bumper. So
I'm seeing that, a little bit of Morse code on the rear bumper for Sly Ben.
It is far from over right now. They're both on the fuel light. They're both got, well warmed.
Trying to sneaky up the inside there for Crimson. A little bit of contact again. These guys are really throwing haymakers at each other.
Just watch out there, boys, because the stewards are they're watching with keen interest. And but again, this is the thing: they are really running out of race mileage to be able to do anything because it's all on. And like you say, there is that question mark over Airborne, so potentially this is the battle for 5th. Far out, man. This is going to get hold your breath.
Yeah, Crimson pushing it to the limits on the exit there. I think Lewis might be kicking himself for giving up so early and showing off for the cameras, because he's now 8 seconds back with almost no chance of making anything happen here from this. Lewis P8, have a look at him. Clan Fever just got the better of Stone Harbour, who's got Angus GDR on the back of him as well. These are important for points coming into the final round. Scotty shot you in P12 and Freelix down the back in 13th. But the driver we want to see right now through the Casio Triangle for the final time. A.E. McEwen, Matthew McEwen, your reigning champion, recently qualified E-Black for New Zealand, wins round 5 here at Suzuka Circuit with a considerable lead at 10 seconds over Simon Bishop. Simon, the veteran international for New Zealand, comes home P2 ahead of Dive Cable, 4.4 seconds behind. 2 podiums on the trot for Gareth Collier in P3 there. Big Head Ted comes across the line for P4. He'll be happy with that one. Honourably airborne. Will cross the line in 5th. He's run out of fuel though. He's run out of fuel. Slideman might get him at the line. He has. He's gone up to P5. No. And Crimson's gone up to 6th as well. I think Airborne has copped himself a 1-minute penalty there.
Oh no. And that's going to be
Lewis will cross for
Lewis.
8th.
Lewis is going to be happy
7th.
with that. Oh, how good. I mean, that's a double whammy for Airborne. He
Clan
runs out
Fever
of fuel
2. Clan Fever will get it too. He'll go up to P8.
I feel like everybody's going to get the. I feel like everybody's going to gain.
Everyone's within a minute except perhaps Freelix. Freelix is just over a minute behind McEwen.
Yeah, but that's not Airborne. So that I think Airborne.
38 seconds. I think it's
Yeah.
I think Freelix is going to get it.
Oh no.
Oh, read the regulations, boys.
Gutted.
You gotta look at those regs. You gotta know which tyre is mandatory. Oh wow.
Oh. I mean, that's got to be a double whammy because he ran out of fuel. Ben got him anyway. Ben had him, and now everybody's got him. So, what the heck happened there?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely a bit of a misclick from Airborne there. I thought he was going to come in for the hards on that final lap because I'm sure that he didn't run them, but it just proves that he ran first stint 10 laps on those soft tyres, which is easy.
Well, yeah, but like he pitted early as well, so I'm trying to work out did he accidentally put softs on when he meant to do hards or mediums, or I mean, I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point. He'll chuck some sort of message in the Discord or maybe even in the stream chat. But I mean, what the heck happened there? And
very, very strange.
Absolute present to everybody else because, like you say, 7th is now 6th, and 10th is now 9th, and it's mate, and yeah, some of these guys have basically had 2 spots handed to them because we've had that, and we've had Caleb's untimely DNF. So
yeah, true.
Wow, how quickly the turntables.
Indeed, it does. But yeah, it was a long slog, I'm sure, for the guys out front after the disconnect of Caleb, Simon and Matthew. Probably sort of just became a bit of an endurance race for them, just trying to make it psychologically to the end without any mistakes, errors, anything like that, trying to get it through and go all the way there. Yeah, not too much to say on the grand scheme of things. That penalty from Airborne, it sounds like there's going to be some words about that one a little bit later on, and the disconnect from Caleb, of course, bringing a couple of guys back into it. So I think we'll go have a quick look at our results now before we get to our interview, which we've got for our winner, Matthew McEwen. So I'll take us over to the results screen now. McEwen takes victory ahead of Psydog, Dive Cable, Big Head Ted, and Slyben the Cat, who gets himself up to P5. Huge for him, and actually, with this whole situation, it's going to be very messy seeing how this all fleshes out. If there was an issue for Airborne through the game or something similar like that, that caused them to cop this penalty, because that is game changing for the live finals when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that lack of experience about how the game works might have come to bite him in the bum, because he's still of the mind that the tyres you start on quali is what it puts you on for the race. So I don't think he's realised that you can actually change tyres in between quali and the race itself. Obviously that it's a recent change. It's not too recent, but it's a recent change in the context of he hasn't actually played the game in a couple of years. So yeah, that lack of experience possibly coming back to haunt him. And like I said, someone probably want to tell him, because that's just cost him everything.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, in fairness, if he started the qualifying on the hard tyre and switched to the softs after one lap, he still should have started the race on the hard tyre. So a little bit confusing how that's happened there, but we'll have to investigate that later on. I have no doubt, though, that there's not going to be a lot that the championship can do to rectify that, because it's just it's a bug with the game that cannot be remedied. It seems, but it will be investigated, and I guess we'll see what we can make from it, and see if anything can be done. But I wouldn't really hold my breath. I've been the victim of a similar issue like this in the past, and it's just nothing you can do about it most of the time. But we'll see. In any case, our podium goes McEwen, Simon, and Gareth Collier of Bay of Plenty, Dive Cable in P3. 2 podiums on the trot for him. He'll be stoked with that. Big Head Ted in 4th place, and Slybent in 5th place. Crimson in 6th, with a great result for him, running a bit of a reverse strategy. And Lewis in P7. Lewis was P7 after that incident early on as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was the one that got taken out lap 1, sector 1, so he'll be really happy with 7th as far as a recovery drive. Also, obviously, getting gifted a spot by Caleb and now by Airborne, which, like you say, we'll look into that one and see, exactly what the story is there. But again, these are provisional results pending the stewards' report, and there's certainly a fair bit to go over, isn't there, Tom? It's Suzuka never fails to disappoint when it comes to championship implication drama.
Certainly. Clan Fever's a big one as well there. 8th place, a great result for him. He's sort of been on the cusp of being demoted to Division 2 a couple of times this season, but he's held on by the skin of his teeth to Division 1, and that will really solidify his spot in the top division, and might also make a bid for him for the live finals too. Not a qualifier last year, Division 2 driver last year, if memory serves. So he's had a pretty stellar season so far, Clan Fever. Consistently... I want to say consistently not last, which kind of sounds like a bit of a backhanded compliment, but realistically, I think he'll be pretty happy with his results so far this season, especially so with the round today as well.
Yeah, well, like you said, he's sort of been on the, not necessarily the back foot, but he has been at risk of being demoted a couple of times over the season, so the fact that he's still here, he must be doing something right, and... we've got 2 races left, so provided he's still in Div 1 tomorrow, or next week, not tomorrow, that'd be interesting, but, provided he's still in Div 1, then he's got a double helping of points, which hopefully sets him up nicely. We've got some very interesting races set up for the next one, and, like you say, he's just kind of one of the silent achievers. He's not out there a mile in the lead, but by the same token, he is there, and he will get there on his own merits.
Angus GDR in 9th place, Scotty Shot You in 10th, Stone Harbour 11th, Felix 12th, and Airborne with that minute penalty demoted to 13th, but ahead of Caleb, who did not finish in 14th there. So unfortunate to see a disconnect or rage quit or whatever the case may be for Caleb, but this is the way things go. So great race overall. We'll move now into, I think, our interview for a certain Matthew McEwen, who will join us in the box once again, and we'll have a quick chat with him about his race result, I think. So let me see if I can pull that one up. You guys, let's go across to our driver interview for race round 5 rather. One race of the evening, of course, and have a chat with our race winner.
Hello.
Hi, Matthew. Congratulations on your win this evening. A dominant display, led from start to finish. Did that go the way you sort of hoped it would?
Yeah, of course. Anytime you hope that you'll win. Yeah, I mean, someone's called me the Tyre Whisperer once upon a time, and I feel like they might have been right. I felt really, really good on those mediums there. Just kept driving them. Crimson thought the game was broken because He saw me run 12 on mediums, and he was like, "Okay, well, he must be on hards, and the game's just displaying the wrong tire." And so, no, I just decided to do that. It wasn't worth it, actually. I think that 10 or 11 would have been better, especially since I went and got myself a penalty and lost about 2 seconds on the 12th lap. But here we are.
You managed to make it work, most certainly. But yeah, we were discussing the merits of holding out for so long as well, because it seemed that there was a bit of a crossover with Simon's pace towards the latter ends of the stint. But it worked out for you nonetheless. Talk to us about the early stages of the first stint, though, before the gap formed between you and Simon and Caleb. What were your thoughts going through those early stages? What you needed to do to keep those guys off your back or to pull the gap?
Yeah, I was kind of just holding out for the first few laps because I was backing myself to be better on tyres, and so, my plan was just to kind of stay just about far enough ahead. I was hoping Simon wouldn't go for any crazy moves, and so naturally, I was just making sure that I'd stay a few tenths ahead, not let any moves happen, and try to just kind of make the tyres work. If I got too far ahead, just kind of let the tires cool down a little bit, kind of let them relax, just so I could maintain a nice stable gap, and then start pulling out the gap once I had better tires.
True, yeah. Did you have any fears in the beginning that anyone behind you would start on the soft tyres?
I don't know. Caleb made a bit of a blunder on strategy and at Brands Hatch, but I didn't think he was going to make such a blunder again, given that it seemed like it was not a very high likelihood that anyone would be trying to run the softs. I had noticed that running 3 laps on softs was already torture trying to do qualifying practice, and so I just decided, nah, it's not really going to be a big deal. And if someone was just blasting through the pack, it would have been easy enough just to let them go and ruin their own race ahead of me.
Yeah, quite a long pit transit as well, it seemed, about 25 plus seconds. So definitely not worth that extra stop, I don't think, for 5 laps on the soft tyres if you even made it that far. So right decision from you, which we seem to see all too often. So congratulations once again on another win to your tally. And we'll see you for round number 6.
All right, thank you very much. Be pretty exciting. Got the rain coming.
Yeah, expect rain at Dragon Trail Gardens. How exciting.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that one's going to be bonkers. I can't tell if I'm excited or nervous for it. It'll be interesting.
Well, you got yourself a little bit of a cushion going into it as far as points are concerned, so I think you can probably relax out of that one, I would say.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
All right, well done tonight, Matthew. We'll see you again for round 6.
All right, thank you. See you then.
Shall we sing him happy birthday now or later?
No, no. Okay.
Aha!
Classic. No. That's again dominant display by arguably the top in the country. Like you say, he's an E-Black now, and what we've seen tonight is exactly why he's an E-Black. So how
Pretty
good?
Definitive at the moment, isn't it? When you say best in the country, it's it's certainly looking that way. But yeah, little bit of a last minute pipe up there to see that it is his birthday today. So a win to celebrate his birthday here in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. So happy birthday, Matthew, our reigning champion and our point leader for the series here in 2024 as well. So that's all of our action for the evening. I think tonight at Suzuka, so we move into round 6 and the final round next week. We've got two races for you next week. The first at Watkins Glen, and I can tell you right off the bat that Watkins Glen is a favourite of a certain Simon Bishop, who tends to have some excellent performances there a lot of the time. So expect big things from him. No pressure, Simon. And then we've got, as Matthew mentioned, Dragon Trail Gardens with rain as well. Rain, Nate, once again.
Yeah, we like a bit of rain, don't we? Have we actually had any wet races yet? We had the wet quali at Red Bull Ring, but I don't think we've actually had a wet race. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And what a track to have wet weather at, right? Dragon Trail Gardens. It's you either love it or you hate it. I know some people that really vouch for it, and then some people that just cannot stand it. So we'll see. We've got, like you say, one last night, one last round, one last chance to get those all critical championship points. So yeah, we're in for a treat.
And one last thing to see us out as well, driver of the day, an important conversation to be had. We're not going to run a poll this week, but please drop your driver of the day nominations in the chat and we will tally them up after the stream is concluded. You'll have a couple of minutes to do that. Nathan, who was your driver of the day today?
I would say Lewis. Obviously, I have reason to, but he did genuinely get taken out in the first sort of minute, and he clawed his way back to where he did. So that doesn't happen by itself. Dive Cable, a second podium in as many races. He will be absolutely stoked with that. And then I'm seeing in the chat too, Stone Harbour for doing 15 laps on the medium tyres. I don't think he had any life left on that front right when he was finished. So
sorry, Matthew,
yeah.
no driver, no tyre whisperer title for you. I think Stone Harbour takes that one.
Well, the problem is when you're at the top, they expect you to win, right? That's the trade-off. You're the best, but the problem is that people expect the best, and the same can be said for Simon. The same can be said for potentially Caleb. So yeah, look, it's definitely getting interesting now that we head towards the sort of the twilight of this championship, and yeah, Wellington's looking all the more exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, 1 to go, and then the 16th of November, you'll see us here at Respawn with 10 competitors, the very best in the country, for a live event. 2 years on the trot, so really excited for that one. My driver of the day, personally, it's between Big Head Ted, who had a quiet, consistent race in 4th place there, good result, and Clan Fever, who got 8th place. A really, really good result for him as well. We didn't have much of a spotlight on him as the race went on, but he clearly had his work cut out for him as the race went on. So I think he is worthy of a nomination as well. So get your votes into the chat there. Let us know who you think was the driver of the day, and we will calculate that later on, and we will ship out a prize to the winner. There is a prize, yes, for it. Must remind you of that as well. So make sure you get your votes in, and if you're a driver, make sure you get your friends and family watching so they can vote for you next week. Our last round with driver of the day. Actually, sorry, I say that. The live finals will have a driver of the day nomination as well. But online, get your family and friends watching so they can all nominate you in the chat and vote for you in the poll when it does come up. More votes means more chance of a win and that prize. Red Bull slabs up for grabs. Oh, poet, and I didn't know it. In the driver of the day competition as well. For competitors as well, there is also a livery competition that will be going live on the Discord server after the competition, the online season has concluded. So that will be upcoming for you guys as well. There will be prizes for that too. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It is coming to the Discord server. But that's us for round number 5. We'll see you all again for the doubleheader, round number 6, the final round of the season next week. And George will be back replacing me, and I'll be back watching at home on the couch
Thank
with the rest of
goodness.
you.
Sorry, what? Sorry.
I've been had. We'll see you all next week. Thank you very much. I didn't press. Oh, I'm not very clever at all. There we go.
Fair enough, fair enough.